our law firm, South Atlanta injury lawyers, and most importantly, the Lady Lawyer Mastermind community. Terry and I are deeply passionate about helping female law firm owners thrive, not just survive in their practices. We understand the unique challenges and opportunities that come with running your own law firm, and we're committed to helping you access the tools, strategies, and community support to achieve your goals. Now, and today, so usually it's called the Lady Lawyer Mastermind, and usually it's just female lawyers, but we have a male speaker today, and we thought it was only appropriate and fair to invite some of our male colleagues to join today also. So you'll see a few of our male colleagues here. Um, but usually our mastermind is just for female law firm owners. So before we dive in, I'd like to take a moment to spotlight something truly special that's coming up. And I'm going to turn it over to Terry Fields.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone could hear me. I am Danielle's law partner. Yes, I was going to do that too. Yes. Okay. So we want to formally invite you to the Lady Lawyer Mastermind. This is a mastermind that we hold twice a year. So we had a very successful launch in April of 2024. We had another in October 2024. And we are doing it again in a couple weeks now, April 24th, 2025 and April 25th, 2025. We like to start off the mastermind with a networking dinner the night before on April 24th, and the day of April 25th, we get right into it. We talk about the biggest challenges facing our law firms. We talk candidly, so we ask for confidentiality. It has been a transformative experience both times we have done it. Last fall in October, we did it at Serenbe Inn, which is where you can just get away from your practice and really just focus on what's going on with your law firm in a very comfortable environment. So we encourage everyone's participation. We encourage you to come out. There are many folks on this call right now who have been. So we encourage you to reach out and ask for any testimonials about the experience. And again, this is part of our commitment to making sure that lady lawyers get all the resources that they need to flourish. So we personally invite you to come and join us.
Well, thank you very much, Terry. So we are going to get to the main event. And these webinars are part of our mission to empower women with practical, actionable insights to enhance your leadership, grow your practice, and ultimately find the balance that allows you to excel both professionally and personally. And today's webinar is no exception. You're in for an incredible session with Jaden Doy, the law firm CPA, who will share invaluable insights on tracking the right metrics to measure and drive your firm's success. And by the end of today's webinar, you're going to walk away with a clear understanding of what KPIs every law firm owner should be tracking, practical tips for implementing systems. And as a bonus, you'll leave with a free workbook designed to help you apply what you've learned to your own practice. And so Jaden has provided us with a workbook to use as he goes along with his presentation. So go ahead and take it out. And I am going to turn it over to the fabulous Mr. Jaden Doy.
Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are, everybody. I am so excited to speak with you today. I thoroughly enjoy having these type of conversations with law firm owners and truly creating that transformation so that they can create great firms that help them create financial freedom. So I have to, I need to send a request to share screen. Okay. So one of the important things that I noticed while working with firm owners is that a lot of times they're in business and they've started a business from leaving a job, and then they just kind of operate the business like with that same mentality that they had when they had a job. And it's a completely different mindset that you have to have. As a firm owner, knowing your numbers is really important. And so that's what we'll dive into today. Personally, I don't like sitting and being lectured to. So I try to make these interactive in the sense that I we incorporate the workbook. So the workbook is to be worked throughout this presentation. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And then once I get to a point where I pause, I'll be able to answer those questions. And we'll also do a Q&A at the end of the session as well. So let me go ahead and share. All right, perfect, perfect. So let's first define what KPIs are. I want to break it down to a point where a fifth grader can understand because some people honestly have never heard of this before. So, KPIs are key performance indicators, and these are measurable metrics that reflect the performance and health of a business. They serve as benchmarks for tracking progress towards specific goals and identifying areas of improvement. Now, in our personal lives, there are certain KPIs that we have, and we just didn't even know that we have key performance indicators, right? So, for instance, if you go to a restaurant and you leave there, you say, I'm feeling so good. I know I'm gonna sleep good tonight. That right there is a key performance indicator as to how good the food was. Inherently, we already do KPIs, right? And we just don't even think about it. So now we want to apply that same mentality in our businesses. Now let's talk about why KPIs are important. And before I get into this, I want to say something. I want you all to, it may not happen tonight, but as you think about yourself and who you are, I want you to think of yourself as a business owner that owns a law firm more than just a lawyer. Does that make sense? I am a business owner that owns a law firm. I'm not just an attorney. And when you think about it that way, it really starts to put things into perspective and you really start to hold people, software, and various other tools accountable to get you the results that you want. So, why are KPIs important for law firms? Of course, driving financial growth. We all go into business to make money. We have to make more money in order to create more of an impact. So, even if you are more impact driven, the reality is the more money you have, the more you'll be able to invest in things that will help you create a bigger impact that help more people. KPIs are also important because they improve client satisfaction. Now, as we're monitoring KPIs, if we're able to use that to improve client satisfaction, then that will help us as it pertains to getting better reviews, referrals, build a loyal client base, all of the things that we want to do to be able to scale our firms. And the last one is going to be enhancing operational efficiency. So a lot of times when I work with PI firms, they say they don't track time because they work a contingency, which I understand. However, I usually recommend that you track time anyway, because this way we can monitor productivity. And when we do that, we're able to see if there's time that's being wasted. So if you know a simple MVA case should only take, MVA case, disc injury, we don't have no TBI, it should take X amount of hours, and you have team members that are taking 20 hours above that threshold that you've created, we have a problem. There's most likely time and that's being wasted that should be allocated to other cases so that you can increase rather your caseload. So let's talk about some of the benefits. This will help you in as it pertains to clarity and decision making. It'll help you with goal alignment, early problem detection, and accountability. So as business owners, it's easy to not hold yourself accountable because now I'm the boss. Now I can set my own schedule. I can do what I want. But when you had a job, you had that boss that was like, you gotta get this much in settlements before the quarter is over, or you gotta make this amount in billable hours. So now, with navigating our KPIs, we're able to create a benchmark to hold ourselves accountable as well as our team. And as it pertains to clarity and decision making, a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I want to hire somebody," or I want to use this software," whatever the case may be, but they don't have the data to help them support that. Especially with PI, people are nervous in hiring because they're like, "Oh, well, I don't know. What if I don't get more cases?" And then we have to go back to the KPIs, and I have to show them, this is how many cases you have in your docket. This is the average days outstanding. Based off of the prior performance, you could hire somebody right now, and even if you didn't get any more cases, you would still be profitable. And so this helps alleviate that nervousness that people have in making big decisions because the numbers support the decisions needing to be made. And then goal alignment. I teach people to create SMART goals, SMART being an acronym. And a lot of times, because before going into that, people are, they set these audacious goals, but they don't have any numbers to support that. And so I always say that you should have a realistic goal. You should have a goal that's like, it would be great to get here, but if I don't get there, cool. I'm not gonna, feel bad about it. And then you have a worst case scenario goal, especially when it comes to revenue. And so using your KPIs can help you as far as set more realistic goals. I don't know about you all, but I'm the type of person, if I don't reach my goals, I genuinely like it's not good for my mental health. Like I genuinely don't feel good for like a day or so. Some people, it don't matter. And if you're one of those people, kudos to you, but I'm not. So I have made sure that I set realistic goals. And since then, over the past few years, we have surpassed those goals, and it's been absolutely amazing. Just to put some things in perspective, I started my firm back in 2019 in a one-bedroom apartment, okay, and couldn't even afford the tax software or computers I was working with. Fast forward to now 2025, we have a team of 24 and we did over 1.5 million last year. So when we talk about growing and scaling and setting those incremental goals, I've done it. I've helped a lot of people do it. I'm not just over here like telling everyone you're going to be billionaires tomorrow. I try not to sell hope and dreams. Okay. All right. So you should have your workbook. If not, Danielle will be putting it in the chat. All right. So before we get into the actual KPIs, um, let's get into the challenges when tracking KPIs. So one is lack of clarity. Okay, people don't know what to measure. So today I'm going to help you navigate that. I'm going to give you a bunch of different options, and then you're going to sit back and think what's important to you. The next one is inconsistent data collection methods. So if you don't have a consistent system, whether that's using software or spreadsheet and or tracking, then you're not going to have the true data and it'll be difficult to compare, right? So if you're not getting your financial statements timely, or you don't have a system that tracks all the leads that comes in, you're just using it based off of what you remember, then the data won't be consistent and it'll be incorrect. And you won't even truly know if you've met those goals or not. And then the last one is resistance to data making decisions. So sometimes, every firm has what I call a negative Nancy. That's that one that just says, well, we've been doing it this way. And, one bad apple can ruin a bunch. Okay. So keep that in mind. But there are ways to get team buy-in, right? If you are able to effectively communicate to your team members the benefit that they will get from making sure that we're tracking data, in addition to that, the overall benefit of the firm, and they actually have a buy-in to the vision of your firm, then it's easier to get people to participate. When you try to implement changes and then you have people that are just there for a job, those people are very difficult to transition their mindset because honestly, they don't truly care about the vision of the organization. So every staff accountant for me has to understand the vision that we're trying to create and understand that we're truly and honestly more than just number crunchers. We're helping people create financial freedom. That's a big deal, especially for a lot of people that don't come from a family that was wealthy. And so there's a level of empathy that is required to do this job effectively and flexibility that the team members that I have that have been long standing, they possess. All right. So the first category, as far as KPIs that we're going to cover today, are going to be the financial metrics. The first one being revenue per lawyer. Rather simple. This is just the revenue generated by each lawyer in the firm. So, in the example, if your firm earned $500,000 last quarter, you have five lawyers, then the revenue per lawyer is $100,000 because 500 divided by five is $100,000. Now, understand that different of the law, the benchmark for revenue per lawyer is going to be different. Now, when I communicate this to people, what I try to get them to understand is there's a certain threshold of revenue that one person could be responsible for before they go insane. Okay. So in family law, for instance, I try to say between 300 and 350. Above that, unless you're up in, New York City charging $1,000 an hour, that might be a little different. But in most cases, when you go above 350 per lawyer, the productivity starts to decline, deadlines start to get missed, people just start to get mad for no reason and they quit. So we try to keep that KPI in mind. PI is a little different, especially if we're dealing with if the average case value, if we're talking about trucking cases or we're doing slip and falls or med mal, where these cases might take over a year to settle or go through litigation, but the payout is much higher, then the revenue per lawyer is going to be much higher. Um, but this is important because this helps us as it pertains to when we're looking at hiring, and we're looking at what we're holding people accountable to. This metric is going to be very important. The next one is profit margin. This one is the percentage of revenue that remains as profit after all expenses are deducted. So if you have $1 million in revenue and your expenses are 800,000 and your profit margin is 20%. Rather simple, right? This is one that everybody should be looking at. A low margin means that you somewhere along the lines you have excessive overhead costs, or you're underpriced. What I usually, if I see a low profit margin, the first place I go to is labor to look at the labor percentage, which is cost of labor divided by revenue. And if that's above 25 to 30%, boom, right there, I've already figured out the problem. One of these numbers need to change. Either somebody got to get let go or we got to increase the revenue. And most people don't want to let somebody go. So we got to figure out a way to increase the revenue. The next one is going to be collection rate. This one is the percentage of bill work that has been collected. So if you build 100, but you only collected 80, your collection rate is 80%. So if you want to improve this, then you need to revisit your payment terms, making sure that you're following up proactively on outstanding invoices, but also think about auto pay. A lot of people, if they would just have their clients on auto pay, it would alleviate a lot of issues. Now, granted, if you charge an account on auto pay and there's no money in it, then it is what it is, right? However, I've realized that most people have a bad relationship with money and they don't enjoy paying bills. It actually angers them, makes them mad. I personally have even had to change my mindset surrounding paying bills, and now I've changed it to a point of gratitude. Like, okay, I remember when I first moved to Atlanta, my rent was $550. Now I have a mortgage and HOA is like 3,500. But I'm grateful that I can do that and not be a problem. Like I'm not missing any meals, you know? So, but not a lot of people think like that. So we have to figure out ways to alleviate that. Before you do the auto pay, though, you want to double check with your state to verify that there's no issues with the ethics department. I haven't heard anybody yet that said that there was a problem, but I just want to give that disclaimer, and you want to make sure that that's clear in your agreement with the client. The next one is utilization rate. So this is the percentage of the lawyer's available time that's spent on billable work. So if a lawyer has a 40-hour work week but only bills 20 hours, utilization rate is 50%. And which is low, okay? So if it's only 50%, this means that there's a management issue. There needs to be for better to get delegation. Um, and a lot of times the issue here is that we have people at $100 an hour doing work that's supposed to be $20 an hour, and we have people at $40 an hour that's supposed to doing work for people that's supposed to be $10 an hour. So as we look at your organizational chart, there should be a hierarchy and you should be pushing the work down. Um, so let me give you an example. In For every matter, there should be a standard workflow. So let's just say MVA, motor vehicle accident, for instance. There's, of course, the intake process, there's the process, the medical phase, the medical treatment phase, then there's the demand and negotiations, and then possibly litigation, right? The reality is most of the stuff that I've given you in that example can be done by somebody that is a case manager, not necessarily a lawyer. The lawyer, it's great for the lawyer to check in with the client, make sure that their treatments are going well and things of that nature. But do they need to be doing intake? Really? Is that really what you went to law school for? No. Their job should be focused more on the litigation and actually of the filing of the motions and case law and things of that nature. Um, Even with the negotiations, firms are transitioning to have case managers do most of the negotiations. So this increases the capacity because now the higher paid people are focused more on the higher level work and they're not doing a lot of the admin stuff. Even email management is a big thing. Let me tell you, I've had my emails managed since 2020 because it's ridiculous. And this is off topic, but I'm going to give you all a tool that I use. It's called Fixer AI, and this will categorize your emails for you and draft responses. So until you get somebody to manage your emails, this will save you a lot of time. And when you do get someone to manage your emails, it'll make them more effective at their job. But I get an email every 3 minutes during business hours. So it would be impossible for me to manage my email all day, get to people timely, and do everything else I have to do as a CEO. So, and this is another reason why I say track time, even if you're in a flat fee or contingency-based practice. The next one is going to be realization rate. So this is the percentage of billable hours that are actually collected. So if a lawyer bills 20 hours at $200 an hour, which is 4,000, but there's a discount negotiated and you only collect 3,000, then the realization rate is 75%. Now, if we consistently have low realization rates, then we need to reevaluate pricing, discount policies, or we need to get some clients that are not going to, you know, have an attitude every time it's time to pay the price. Or we need to look at why this lawyer spent 20 hours on this matter when the standard is really only 15 hours. So those are different things that come up as we look at realization rate. Any questions as it pertains to financial metrics before I move on?
I have one quick question. Is there a target or ideal profit margin? What do you consider a low profit margin?
So it's going to be different for different practice areas and different revenue brackets. So I am a profit first professional. Um, and if you're not familiar with Profit First, there's a whole book, it's a book written by Mike Michalowicz where he talks about how to pretty much force your business to be profitable, right? And one of the things that is different when you look at profit first versus just operating a business on the regular is a term called total owner's benefit. And so this means this term total owner's benefit, it represents the how much money the owner gets in salaries, dividends, distributions, and also benefits that the firm is paying for that benefit really the owner. So, for instance, everyone knows I like to catch flights, right? That's reach new heights and catch more flights. That's my tagline. I spend over $100,000 a year on travel. I'm traveling every month, most of the time twice a month. And honestly, it's lowering my profit margin. However, realistically, when I look at my profit first percentages, I really put that into total owner's benefit because I'm really the one that's benefiting the most from that. Um, and so the usual answer that I give is 20%. However, that's like a good a good metric. However, there is some room for change given one, if we're aggressive with tax planning, and two, the we also have to put into perspective the total owner's benefit. So things that we're paying for that may lower our profit margin, but really um, are benefiting the owner. Because it's no point in making all this money if we're just not going to be able to enjoy it, right? So yeah, when I go to Curacao next month, it's going to be tax deductible. When we went to Dubai, South Africa, all of these things are tax deductible, right? Any more questions on this before we go to the next category? So next, we're going to go into client metrics. The first one being client retention rate. So this measures the amount of percentage of clients who return for additional services, new matters. And this matters because while clients are not required to may not require the same legal service repeatedly, a high retention client rate shows trust and satisfaction. Now, granted, this metric is not going to be important for a lot of clients. I mean, for a lot of industries, right? So, the business attorney will want to have a client retention rate. They want that repeat business. They want to be able to every year go through the contracts and renewal, business license, all that good stuff. But maybe the family law attorney, when they're done with the client, they want to be done with them, right? Now, granted, family law attorneys should be thinking about is anybody here family law before I start preaching to family law people? Okay, we got a hand. Okay, so family law clients should still be thinking about client retention rate. It's just a longer game because realistically, people get multiple divorces. I knew a guy that got divorced 3 times within a 5-year period and had to pay alimony to 2 of those women. I don't know how that's legal. That's beyond my pay grade. However, it's something to think about. In addition to that, once somebody gets divorced, they need to be coming to you for a prenup before they get married again. And I'm not just talking about a you need to be advising them on all the risks that they go into. Like, for instance, I'm at a CPA conference and the CPA said he was contributing to his wife's retirement account. He put her on as an employee and was contributing to her retirement account as an as an employee for years, and then they got divorced. When they got divorced, the judge credited his retirement contributions to her retirement account, to the payout so that he could still be liquid during the divorce process. That's something that I know nothing about, right? But a family law attorney, those are different strategies that they could talk through with their client. So this is actually like something that you definitely want to think about offering, not only the reactive, but preemptive and proactive services. The next one is going to be Net Promoter Score. So this measures how likely clients are to recommend your firm to others from a scale of 1 to 10. So a lot of times when we call customer service for like these big companies, Best Buy, the bank, whatever the case may be, next thing you know, you get an email or text message asking you to rate their service. There's a reason why they do that. And as small firm owners, we could do the same thing. Um, I've seen where scheduling softwares like OneHub can automatically send a survey out after every client call to kind of gauge how the client feels about the firm. And so this will help you figure out, if there's issues that need to be addressed or ways to improve your service. The next one is average case value or average client value. I use those terms interchangeably, but this is the average revenue generated per case or matter handled by your firm. So if your firm handled 50 cases last year and you generated 500,000, then the average case value for that is how much? It's $10,000. So this insight helps you prioritize high value cases. Now, this is where a lot of people actually, when they get out of working at a firm, they think small. They just think, I just want to help. I just want to help everybody. You know what I'm saying? So they undercharge, and then before you know it, they're underwater with too much, and they've spent so much money that they can't even afford help, right? And I don't want that for anyone here. So I want everyone to think of how you can increase your average case or average client value to be above $10,000, because it's easier to get to $1 million with higher value cases than it is when you have a bunch of small cases. And in addition to that, I'm telling you, when you have a bunch of small matters, it's difficult to do that as a small firm. These big firms are able to do that because they're running volume. They have the money to spend tens of thousands, if not hundred thousands of dollars on ads to get these churn and burn, get them out. And they have the process automated for the most part. But as a small firm, that's very difficult to do that. It's difficult to scale that. It's difficult to give a certain level of service to hundreds of clients versus 50 clients. And the last one is going to be lead conversion rate. So this is the percentage of prospective clients that become paying clients. So if you receive 100 inquiries, but only 20 convert to paying clients, your conversion rate is going to be 20%. So this will provide you insight on, do I need to improve the intake process, or am I not getting qualified leads? Is there, maybe my messaging is wrong, or maybe I need to figure out a way to better sell people, or maybe I need a way to um, better effectively communicate the value. So if you do paid consultations, there is going to be apprehension to that. I'm not telling you to stop, because value your time. However, there's going to be apprehension to that. So if you charge for consultations, there needs to be something in the middle between the inquiry and somebody booking that consultation, to where they understand, because we know the value, but the public doesn't understand the value. They don't even understand what's going to happen on the consultation. So what I recommend doing is a video. So for me, when people book a consultation, my consultations are free, but I still want to streamline the process, right? I want, when we have that consultation, at that point, I want you to make your decision before we get on the call. I want you to already know you ready to move forward, or I want you to watch this video and say, actually, you know what? this is more than what I want. I really don't need all of this. So I'm just gonna go with, my homegirl over here that's only gonna charge me $10 an hour. And that's okay. But I want that to be I want that decision to be made before the call so that we're having less calls. And so creating a video that explains the value, gives the history of the firm, talks about what happens on the consultation and why it's a paid consultation is definitely would definitely be helpful in between the inquiry and the actual sales call or the consultation. In addition to that, it also would help if you had someone on your team following up on leads and answering those questions and warming them up even more. Do we have any questions on these metrics before we move on to the next category?
Hey, my name is Tracy. I have a question about the average
Yes,
case value.
yes,
So my understanding is that it's probably better for a smaller firm to focus more so on getting higher value cases more so than getting hundreds of cases to come through the door. Correct?
yes, that's correct.
Okay. Because I have the mentality of that big law firm because I used to work for one and they just, I mean, it was constant, small or big. And so that's my mind frame to bring in the cases, no matter the size.
Were you a partner at Big Law?
No.
Okay, so partners in Big Law, one of the metrics that they look at is what your book of business is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now that you have your own practice, your focus is your book of business. And so with that, and so what, I know you do plaintiff, but what area of law are we talking?
Personal injury, focusing
Okay.
on.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to remember that your work hours are going to be limited, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you take every single MVA case that comes through the door or the low-hanging fruit that, other people didn't want to serve because they didn't have a police report or they refused to get treatment, you will burn yourself out. But if you were to find a bigger niche, I mean, a
Mm-hmm.
niche that has, um, a bigger payout,
Mm-hmm.
then what will happen is people will see that you're an expert in this. So, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, maybe you will be the person that um, you'll be the person that you'll focus on suing big corporations for slip and fall, right? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you maybe you change your name to Miss Slip and Fall. Like that's your personal
Got it.
brand. I'm just making this stuff up, okay? So don't
Mm-hmm.
just forgive me. But let's just say you create this brand where you're now Miss Slip and Fall. If you fall in Walmart, let me tell you, they're gonna call you the next day and try to offer you $500. Don't take that check. Call me because you don't even know how injured you are. You could actually receive a check for 100,000, if not 500,000, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. When you start talking like that, what's going to happen is you're going to get those big cases, but you're also going to still get the smaller stuff as well. Does
Got
that
it.
make sense?
It does. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Any other questions? The other thing I want to say about these is the one that's often overlooked is lead conversion rate. However, this is honestly very, very, very important because this will help you figure out where in your sales cycle, the issue is. Is it the leads that are coming, the quality of leads that are coming in? Is it something wrong with the system where we're not capturing them? Or is it the actual sale part? That that will help you pinpoint that. All right, so now let's go to operational metrics. So the first one is going to be time to close cases. So this is the average time it takes to resolve a case from start to finish, from intake to closure. So if your firm takes an average of 6 months to close a personal injury case, but competitors average 4 months. It could indicate efficiencies in case handling, or it could be fine because maybe you're actually taking stuff to litigation versus people that don't. So things to think about. But is anybody here estate planning? Anybody here do estate planning? No? I don't think. Okay, so estate planning is one where time to close is it's pretty standard, but some people kind of go a little bit too far on the it takes too long and then it creates a negative client experience and they get less referrals. The other thing with time to close cases is if you are understaffed, it's going to take longer to close these cases because people don't have the time that they need to be able to do the follow-up and things of that nature. So that's also something to think about. The next one is employee turnover rate. This is the percentage of employees that leave your firm within a given time period. So if 10 people leave a team of 50 within a year, then the turnover rate is 20%. A high rate may suggest that there's dissatisfaction, overwork, or lack of growth opportunities. Something is going on where people are not staying. Or if the turnover rate is not from people quitting, but people getting fired, then there's an indication that there's an issue with the hiring process. So maybe we're not vetting people enough, or maybe we're not doing a proper assessment. I believe everybody should do an assessment, like a multiple choice quiz, before hiring somebody. That's just one of the many ways that you can weed people out. I have job postings out right now and I have people applying for it. And a lot of people are just refusing to do the assessment. And that helps me. That makes it easy for me because you're telling me that you're not about this life. No, you're not qualified. You know that you don't know nothing about an IOTA account. So no, I'm not going to hire you. I need you to already know a good amount about law firm accounting. And so that's why we have a law firm accounting assessment to alleviate people that just read a quick blog and hopped on the interview. All right, the next one is going to be workflow bottlenecks. So this point in your process where work slows down, and this actually affects the timely resolution. So if paralegals frequently experience delays in document reviews because attorneys are overburdened, this is what we call a bottleneck, and it slows the case progression down and overworks certain team members. The next one is going to be marketing ROI. Now, the return on investment from your marketing efforts is calculated by comparing revenue generated from marketing against the actual cost of those efforts. So if you spend 5,000 on a social media campaign and get 25,000 in new revenue, then your ROI is $4,000. A low ROI means that you're not reaching your target market. You might need to change your messaging, or maybe it means that you're not going in the right avenues. So, for instance, I talked about how I travel a lot, right? So I do a lot of legal conferences. Those conferences, sometimes there's a cost, sometimes there's not because I'm speaking. However, there's hotel, there's flight, there's meals. So what I do is I put all of those expenses into a spreadsheet. And then I look at how many leads generated from that, how many people converted, what the revenue looks like, so that I can measure ROI. Because I have taken a lot of risk. I have one time I spent $3,000 for a regular ticket. I know, don't judge me. I thought it was gonna, I just knew for a fact that if I paid this $3,000, I'm gonna be around the ballers and the shot callers, and I'm gonna make a bunch of money. And I did not get a single client from that. And it was at a hotel that was like $500 a night. It was a bust. Okay. Okay. But hey, you win some and you lose some, right? But marketing ROI is very important as it pertains to whether you're doing conferences, you're doing ads, whatever the case may be. For me personally, what I like to do to make it easy is I just divide my total marketing cost divided by my revenue, to that gives me a baseline indicator. But to dig deeper, what we do is we look at the ROI per campaign. So I do Facebook ads. And so, for instance, I had just posted, I spent like 261 and I think I got about 15 qualified leads. And so we can't necessarily measure the ROI yet because we need to give ample time for these clients to close. But, the ROI on that, even if one person becomes a client, is going to be tremendous. So those are the different levels that we look at when we're talking about marketing ROI. What questions or comments do we have on operational metrics? So now that we have the insight on the different KPIs to use, let's talk about how to measure and track. So you first want to set up the framework. So you want to set up what your goals look like. You want to make sure that your KPIs align with your goals. And when I say goals, I mean you want to set a revenue goal, you want to set a goal for new clients, you want to set a goal for how many leads. Those are just three examples of goals that you definitely want to set every quarter. Now, there are other goals like profitability, client satisfaction, reducing the time that it takes to close out these cases. Those are different goals that during different times of the year you may focus on. Okay. And now that we've identified the goals, we've aligned the KPIs to the goals. Now we need to actually balance out the financial, client, and operational metrics. We want to make sure that we have a good balance. And then we want to make sure that we have decided what manner in which we're going to collect that data. So for me, I use for my CRM system for tracking leads and our marketing campaigns and emails and all that jazz, I use a system called Go Legal Flow. And so I have great insight on how many, and we make sure that we are keeping that updated as clients move along the journey. But that is able to provide me a lot of the reports that I need to feel confident that my marketing efforts are working. I use QuickBooks Online, just like many of my clients do. That provides me the financial metrics I need. Our system, our practice management system is where time is tracked. So, and is where we do the billing. So I'm able to pull a report that shows how much we billed a client versus how much labor went to that client over the course of a year. And I'm able to see if we need to make changes. So think about that as you're going through this process. Certain systems have dashboards to give you real-time insight. I'm a very visual person. So Go Legal Flow has a dashboard and Clio has a dashboard, QuickBooks has a dashboard, Google Data Studio, they all have dashboards. But you also may just want to go old school and put it in a spreadsheet. And from a spreadsheet, you can create pivot tables. All right. So you want to analyze your trends over time, set smart goals, and adjust the strategies based off the data. So for those who are your first 2 or 3 years, you're still in the trial and error phase. So don't beat yourself up if you don't necessarily meet the goals that you have set forth because you're still working with a limited amount of data. As the longer and longer you're in practice, the more data you have, and the easier it is to set goals that you can reach. Now, how to get buy-in. Communicate the value, but also involve your team. Also, making sure that you want them to feel like a part of the process. And people are more likely to contribute if they feel like they're part of the process. Keep it simple if you're, solo. Just pick a few. Don't have to track all of them today, but pick a few. Use technology that you have available to you and set a weekly routine. So I usually recommend picking a day where you spend anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours just doing your CEO level duties, looking at the data, analyzing the data, following up on things that you need to do to grow the business and not necessarily working in the operations of the business. And the more and more money you make and the longer you're in business, your time, when you're a solo, most of your time is going to operations, right? So if you work a 40-hour week, you might put 35 hours to operations and 5 to everything else. However, as you start to grow and you hire people, more and more of your time is going to go to business development because most of the work is going to be done for you. You're just doing the review, and much less is going to go to actual operations, but you're still going to be able to pay yourself that salary. That's the beauty of it. When you start to hire people that you trust, that your clients trust, that can provide your clients with the same level of care that you do. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Danielle and Terry.
Well, thank you so very much for this presentation. I just wanted to point out that on pages 4, 5, and 6 in your book is the little chart. So I'm someone who has a problem putting things into conceptualizing how something should look. So I like that on pages 4, 5, and 6, you have those charts so we can put the KPIs, we can do that whole SMART analysis. Then you have the next step for tracking it. So thank you so much. So I want to thank all of you for coming today. You know, our goal is to share information. We will have one next month on a different topic. And in March, for those of you in Atlanta, we're going to have a Lady Lawyer Mastermind lunch or dinner just so we can all get together. And in April, we're going to have our Lady Lawyer Mastermind. So I hope all of you can join us here in Atlanta for that. We look forward to it. And let's stay in touch. And for the people who attend the Lady Lawyer Mastermind, we do have a community where we talk to each other, we make referrals, we bounce ideas off of each other. And once you attend one of our masterminds, then you can be a part of that community. So thank you all very much. You all have a great day, and I look forward to connecting with you all soon.